Hey guys, it's Lucian, and today I am going to be talking about my most anticipated book releases for 2024. So I have compiled a list of all of the books that I am looking forward to this year. I'm sure I missed a couple here and there, but I've divided them into the months that they're coming out. Of course, as we get to the latter half of the year, there's not a ton because some stuff hasn't been announced yet, but I might be doing another one of these videos towards the middle of the year to talk about the books coming out between July and December. But I'm gonna have the dates that all of these books are releasing in the description box below because I just realized I did not write them on this notes app that I'm going to be referencing throughout the video, but I do have them segmented into the different months, so hopefully that's sufficient for the video, but you can see all of the release dates in the description box. But let's just jump right into it. Starting in January, I have House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. This is the third book in the Crescent City series. The first book was House of Earth and Blood, and the second book was House of Sky and Breath. I have read both of the books in this series, and I always just put the new Sarah J. Maas book on my list every single year. It's just, she's one of my go-to authors. I'll kind of read and buy whatever she releases. So this is her release for 2024, and I really liked House of Earth and Blood. I felt kind of iffy about House of Sky and Breath, but I do feel like with the cliffhanger that the second book left off on, this will be a really interesting read. Next in January, I have Dark Star Burning, Ash Falls White by Amelie Wen Zhao. This is the sequel to Song of Silver Flame Like Night, which I read in May, and I did really enjoy, and this is the conclusion to the duology, and I'm interested in seeing how the story continues. I really enjoyed the first book in the series. It wasn't one of my favorite books of the year, but I am intrigued enough to want to know what happens after, so I will definitely be picking up this book, and it's actually already been released at the time that I'm filming this. Also in January, I have Destroy the Day by Brigid Kemmerer. This is the third and final book in the Defy the Night series. I love to Defy the Night, and I love oh my god, what is it called? Defend the Dawn. And I have been anxiously awaiting this book since September of 2022 when the most recent book in the series came out. So I really want to know what happens to all the characters in the series. I almost just said a spoiler. I have heard that this book is really long, so I'm definitely interested in that, and this series basically follows a girl named Tessa who is an outlaw with one of her friends, and there's this plague that has swept the kingdom, and she basically ends up in the palace with the crown prince and the king, who have kind of just been thrust into the center of power when their parents died, and there's all this political drama and magical stuff, and it's really, really fun. And then the last book that I have to talk about in January is Beasts of War by Ayana Gray. This also just came out, and it is the third and final book in the Beasts of Prey series. I loved Beasts of Prey. I read it last year in January, and I just read Beasts of Ruin this month, and I love both these books so much, and if this book is as good as those first two, I can definitely see it making its way onto my favorite series of all time. This series follows two main characters, Kofi and Ekon, who live in this magical world where there is this night zoo and this magical forest, or this magical place called the Greater Jungle, and they end up on a quest to try to find this mythical creature for various reasons that I don't want to spoil because this series is just so good. The characters are amazing, the writing is great, and the world is one of my new favorites. Moving into February, I have A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faizal. I read this author's first series, We Hunt the Flame, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very fun, Arabic-inspired fantasy story, and this series, I forget how it was described, but I remember the author talking about it years and years ago, and now it's finally coming out, so I do definitely want to read it, but I think it's a heist sort of story, so I'm all in. Then I have With a Little Luck by Marissa Meyer. This is the companion book to Instant Karma, which was her first contemporary novel, and I believe this follows the twin brother of the main character in that book, so that'll be really interesting. He was a really cool side character, so I definitely am excited to see what else Marissa Meyer does in this world and in contemporary. I believe it also has a little bit of a magical twist like Instant Karma, so I am excited for that as well. count the amount of times that I say excited in this video. Then I have what is arguably my most anticipated book of the year, and that is All This Twisted Glory by Taha Mafi, the third book in the This Woven Kingdom series. I almost said the third and final book, but it's actually not the final book. There's going to be more than 3 books. Nonetheless, I'm super excited for this book. I have reading vlogs of the first 2 books in this series. It takes place in a Persian-inspired fantasy world, and we follow 2 characters, Alize and Kamran. Kamran is the crown prince, and Alize is a seamstress hiding a magical secret. And this is just the 3rd book in the series. I can't say anything about it, obviously, because it would be huge spoilers, but I definitely will be doing a reading vlog for this as well, so watch out for that. Then I have Fatebreaker by Victoria Aveyard, the 3rd and final book in the Realmbreaker series. I'm just now realizing how many finales I actually have on this list, so it's going to be a tough / maybe interesting year. The Realmbreaker series is one of my favorites as well. I really enjoyed the first 2 books in the series, Realmbreaker and Bladebreaker, and it takes place in a world that is inspired by the 12th century Europe, Middle East, and Africa sphere. It's kind of a second world fantasy that takes inspirations from those areas in a medieval type of atmosphere. And we follow a ragtag team of misfits as they try to stop this man who's opening portals into other realms to try to take over the entire universe. And then last for February, I have The Women by Kristen Hanna. A very boring title, just kind of like basic. Like, usually Kristen Hanna has very interesting titles, but I mean, title aside, I am still really interested in this book, and I don't know much about it, but I'll read anything Kristen Hanna writes, and I know this obviously follows the lives of various women, I think, during different wars, or maybe the same war, not 100% sure, but still excited about it. Then in March, I have The Prisoner's Throne by Holly Black. This is the sequel and finale to The Stolen Heir. The Stolen Heir takes place in the world of Elfhame, and it follows 2 main characters named Oak and Surin, and they go on this magical quest adventure to try to do something that I can't say because it will probably be spoilers for not just this book, but the Cruel Prince series as well. I loved The Stolen Heir. It was one of my favorite books of last year, and that book was actually told from Surin's perspective, and this book will be told from Oak's perspective. So I am intrigued to see how Holly Black does this sort of mirroring effect, and also how she picks up from the insane cliffhanger at the end of the first book. Then in April, I have 2 books, the first of which is Funny Story by Emily Henry. This is Emily Henry's upcoming romance book. I've read all 4 of her romance books, and I really enjoyed all of them. People Being on Vacation is definitely my least favorite, but I would probably say Beach Read is next after that, and then Book Lovers, and then Happy Place is definitely my favorite of her books, and I'm interested to see what she does with this. I don't know much about it, but she has easily made her way onto my auto-buy list, so I am intrigued in this book either way. Then in April, I also have The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. This is her next book. It's her first standalone novel, and it takes place during the Golden Age of Spain, and it follows a magical woman named Louisa, and she meets this guy who's like the Familiar, I think is what his name is, or like his moniker, and they do some magical things. And I'm really, like, interested. Oh my god, count the amount of times I say interested also. I'm really interested in how Leigh Bardugo is going to do a historical fantasy, because she has done, second world fantasy, she's done contemporary fantasy, but this will definitely be, different for her, a new avenue. So I definitely want to see what she's going to do with that, and I have faith in Leigh Bardugo. She rarely lets me down, and I do also want to do a reading vlog for this book as well, so watch out for that. In June, I have 2 books as well, the first being Icon and Inferno by Marie Lu. This is the sequel/companion to Stars and Smoke, which I read last May as well, and had such a fun time reading. It reminded me a lot of Warcross by Marie Lu, which is my favorite of her books, and this just is going to be another quest following Sydney and Winter, and I really want to see how they are going to what they're going to get themselves into this time. Then also in June, I have Children of Anguish and Anarchy by Tomi Adeyemi. Finally, we have another Tomi Adeyemi book and the finale to Children of Blood and Bone, or the Legacy of Orisha series is what it's called. I loved Children of Blood and Bone. I liked Children of Virtue and Vengeance. It kind of made me dislike the series a little bit, but I have faith in Tomi Adeyemi to create an amazing third book and final installment, so I can't wait to pick this book up. Actually, I do have a third book that comes out in June, and that is Poison in Their Hearts by Laura Sebastian. This is the third and final book in the Castles in Their Bones series. I still do need to read Stardust in Their Veins, but I read Castles in Their Bones as the first book of the new year, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I unexpectedly really, really loved it, and I just know once I read the second book, I'm going to be super pumped for this, and I'm excited that it's not too far away. In July, I have The Mirror of Beasts by Alexandra Bracken. This still does not have a cover reveal, but I'm really interested to see what the cover is going to look like and if they're going to keep the same style as Silver in the Bone, which is the first book in the series, which was one of my favorite books of last year as well. I love Alexandra Bracken, and I knew she was going to pull off Arthurian legend and like adventure quest stuff, and you know, she did not disappoint, and this is the sequel to that book, so I'll read whatever it is. I'll read about these characters going to the grocery store if that's what she wants to write about. Then I also have The Grandest Game by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This takes place in the world of the Inheritance games, and I believe it follows the main character creating a game of her own, so I think that will be really interesting, and I do need to finish that series, but when I do, I will have this book waiting for me. In August, I have Death at Morning House by Maureen Johnson. This is a murder mystery YA novel that actually is outside of her Stevie Bell series, which you all know is one of my favorites. I'm actually rereading it right now. And, but this book, I think, takes place at this old manor that these two characters are assigned to work at in the summer. And then there was this, like, mysterious murder from the past that the main characters end up embroiled in and having to try to figure out. So, can't wait for this. Love Maureen Johnson, love her mysteries, and I think this will be just fun and funny and mysterious and exciting and historical and all those adjectives and things that I love about Truly Devious. And then the last book that I have to talk about is Spectacular by Stephanie Garber. This comes out in October. There's really not a lot of other releases that I know about that are coming out in the other months, but this is a holiday novella that takes place in the Caraval world with the Caraval characters. I'm super excited for this. I know Stephanie Garber will pull off a fun, magical holiday story, so and it's also going to be illustrated. I can't wait. But that is it for my most anticipated releases of 2024. Usually I have a ton more, but I think this year I'm just pickier about what I'm saying is my most anticipated books. These are books that I'm gonna pre-order or buy as soon as they come out. So, you know, really, really pumped for those and excited. I'm gonna say excited again. I don't care. I would love to know what books you are all excited for in 2024, books that you're excited to come out, and maybe even books that you want to try to get to in the new year. But that is it for this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. All of my social media links are in the description box below, and I'll see you soon for a new video. Bye!